The courtroom door opened, and everything Warren Prescott believed about his life collapsed in the space between one heartbeat and the next. His fiancée Margot turned to him with confusion spreading across her perfect features. Her voice came out sharp and bewildered. "Warren, what is she talking about? Who is that woman? Why is there a child?" Warren could not answer. His throat had closed. His hands had gone cold. Because walking toward the front of the courtroom was a woman he had erased from his life 8 years ago. And holding her hand was a little girl with his eyes. His dimples. His stubborn chin. The judge looked up from her papers and spoke with the weight of someone who had seen every form of human failure. "Mr. Prescott, before we proceed with the scheduled matter, I need to address an emergency motion filed this morning. Case number 7742. Bellamy vs. Prescott. Paternity matter." Margot's fingernails dug into Warren's arm. Her whisper was a hiss. "Paternity. Warren. Warren, look at me. What is happening?" But Warren could not look at her. He could only stare at the woman approaching the bench. Ruth Bellamy. The woman he had loved more than he thought possible. The woman he had thrown away with a text message. The woman he had blocked on every platform and erased from every corner of his carefully constructed life. She was not the girl he remembered. She walked with the confidence of someone who had survived everything meant to destroy her. Burgundy suit. Hair swept back. Diamond studs catching the courtroom light. Behind her terrified eyes was a rage that had been building for 8 years. And the child. The little girl in the navy dress with the white flowers. She clutched a worn stuffed elephant and stared at the crowded room with a particular fear of someone who understood she was at the center of something enormous but could not understand why. Warren's mother gasped from the gallery. His father made a sound of disbelief. His sister whispered something Warren could not hear over the roaring in his ears. The judge spoke again. "Mr. Prescott, I asked you a question. Do you deny this child is yours?" Welcome back to another powerful story, my beloved listeners. Kindly tell where you are watching from and what time it is where you are at. If you are new here, prepare for a story of betrayal, unexpected love, and what truly makes a family. Drop everything and listen closely. This tale of heartbreak and redemption might just change how you view love and family forever. Ruth's lawyer approached the bench. She was a woman in her late 50s with silver hair and the particular stillness of someone who had spent decades watching powerful men crumble under the weight of their own choices. "Your Honor. My name is Nadine Cross, representing Ruth Bellamy. My client has been attempting to notify Mr. Prescott of his daughter's existence for 8 years. She was blocked on his personal phone. She was removed by security from his office building. She was threatened with legal action by his attorneys when she attempted to send registered letters. We have filed this emergency motion because Mr. Prescott is about to enter into a marriage contract without disclosing this child, which affects asset distribution and parental rights." Margot released Warren's arm like his skin had burned her. 8 years. Her voice was barely controlled. "You have had a child for 8 years and you never told me. We have been together for 6 years, Warren. We are getting married in 3 months. 800 guests. The plaza. And there is a child you never mentioned." Warren finally found his voice, though it emerged cracked and foreign. "I did not know. You did not know." Margot's composure shattered. "How could you not know?" Nadine Cross spoke again, addressing the court. "Your Honor, I have here DNA evidence obtained independently. A comparison of genetic material from Mr. Prescott obtained from a discarded coffee cup outside his office building against a sample from the child Iris Bellamy, age 8. The results show a 99.7% probability of paternity." The judge studied the documents. She was perhaps 60 years old, with reading glasses perched on her nose and an expression that suggested she had long ago stopped being surprised by the failures of fathers. Warren's gaze moved to Ruth. She stood perfectly still. She had not looked at him. Not once. She kept her eyes forward and her hand on her daughter's shoulder. Their daughter's shoulder. 8 years collapsed into a single moment of recognition. He saw himself in that little girl's face. The shape of her chin. The way she tilted her head. The dimples that appeared when she pressed her lips together nervously. She was his. He knew it in his bones before any test could confirm what his body already understood. The judge removed her glasses and looked directly at Warren. "Mr. Prescott, I will ask you once more, and I expect a clear answer. Do you deny this child is yours?" The courtroom held its breath. Warren looked at the little girl. She was staring at him now. 8 years old. 8 years of birthdays he had missed. 8 years of first days of school and lost teeth and nightmares and laughter and growth. 8 years of a daughter who existed in the world without knowing her father's face. No. His voice was quiet at first. Then louder. No, Your Honor. I do not deny it. The gallery erupted. Reporters in the back began typing on their phones. Warren's mother let out a sob. His father's face went hard with an expression Warren had never seen directed at him before. Disgust. Disappointment so profound it looked like grief. Margot made a sound like something inside her had broken. She pulled the 8-carat engagement ring from her finger. The ring he had presented to her on a private beach in the Maldives. The ring that was supposed to represent forever. She threw it at his chest. It bounced off and clattered to the marble floor. Do not touch me. Her voice was choked with tears. Do not follow me. Do not call me. We are done. She turned and walked out of the courtroom. Her heels echoed on the marble. Her mother hurried after her, calling her name. The doors swung closed behind them with the finality of a period at the end of a sentence. Warren stood in the space where his engagement had been. His fiancée was gone. His family was staring at him with horror. And 10 feet away stood the woman he had destroyed and the daughter he had never known existed. Ruth finally looked at him. Her face was controlled. Her posture was rigid. But her eyes held 8 years of rage compressed into something so cold it burned. You did not know. She said it quietly. It was not a question. It was an accusation. Ruth, I swear if I had known. Do not. The word came out like a blade. Do not say my name. You lost that right 8 years ago when you broke up with me through a text message and blocked my number. You lost that right when your security dragged me out of your building. You lost that right when you started dating her a month later like I had never existed. Her voice never rose. That was the worst part. She did not scream. She did not cry. She simply stated facts with the precision of someone who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her mind. The judge intervened. Ms. Bellamy, you will have the opportunity to give full testimony. For now, I am ordering an immediate DNA test through the court to verify these independent results. Mr. Prescott, you will submit to testing within 48 hours. This hearing is adjourned until Friday at 10 in the morning, at which time we will address custody visitation and child support. She looked at Warren over her glasses. Mr. Prescott, I have been a family court judge for 23 years. I have seen every kind of father who has failed his children. I suggest you use the next 3 days to think very carefully about the kind of father you want to be. Because based on what I have heard this morning, you have 8 years of absence to account for. She banged her gavel. The sound was final. Ruth's lawyer leaned down to speak to the little girl. You did so well, sweetheart. We are going to go home now, okay? The child nodded. But her eyes stayed fixed on Warren. She studied him with the particular intensity of children who are trying to understand something the adults around them refuse to explain. Then she tugged on her mother's jacket. Mommy, why are you crying? Ruth's composure cracked. Just for a moment. Just long enough for Warren to see the devastation beneath the control. She swept her daughter into her arms and held her tight. I am okay, baby. Let us go home. She started toward the courtroom doors. Warren took a step forward. Ruth, please. Let me. She stopped. Did not turn around. Just spoke over her shoulder with a voice like winter. Stay away from my daughter. Not our daughter. My daughter. Then she was gone. The doors closed behind her. And Warren stood in the wreckage of his perfectly constructed life, surrounded by the chaos he had created. His mother was sobbing. His sister was trying to comfort her while shooting Warren looks of pure bewilderment. His lawyer was saying something about damage control and media strategy and getting ahead of the story. His phone was buzzing with calls from his business partners and his publicist and his assistant. But all Warren could see was that little girl's face. All he could hear was Ruth's voice. Stay away from my daughter. His father appeared beside him. George Prescott. Retired judge. A man who had spent his career upholding the law and dispensing justice. A man Warren had spent his life trying to make proud. George gripped Warren's shoulder hard enough to hurt. His voice was low and trembling with controlled fury. "That little girl looks exactly like you did at that age." "Exactly. Which means you have had a daughter out there for 8 years. And you did not know because you threw away the only woman you ever really loved. Tell me, son, was it worth it? The company, the money, the perfect life you built. Was any of it worth what I just watched happen in this courtroom?" Warren opened his mouth to answer. But he had nothing to say. Because the answer was no. And it was far too late for that truth to matter. The following 3 days were the longest of Warren's life. He submitted to the court-ordered DNA test. He met with his lawyers. He watched the news coverage of his public humiliation spread across every platform. Billionaire developer's secret child revealed in courtroom. Prescott Empire heir abandons pregnant girlfriend. The headlines were brutal. The comments were worse. Margot's family released a statement announcing the end of the engagement and expressing their profound disappointment in Warren's character. The merger between Prescott Development and Delaney Pharmaceuticals was officially dead. $2 billion in projected value evaporated overnight. Warren did not care about any of it. All he could think about was Ruth's face. The way she had looked at him in that courtroom. The rage that had been burning for 8 years. The daughter he had never known. The text message he had sent. He pulled up his phone and scrolled back through his message history. He had to go deep. 8 years deep. To a time before Margot. Before the Langley investment. Before everything that had turned him into the man who could abandon someone he loved. The message was still there. Sent at 4:17 in the afternoon on a Tuesday in March. "I think we want different things. This is not working. Take care of yourself." 17 words. That was all he had given her after 3 years together. After all the promises. After all the plans. 17 words and then silence. He had blocked her number immediately after sending it. He remembered that now. He had been sitting in Victor Langley's office. The investor had just offered him everything he thought he wanted. Funding. Resources. The chance to build an empire. But there were conditions. Total commitment. No distractions. Ruth was a distraction. That was how he had framed it to himself. She was emotional. She was needy. She did not understand the pressure he was under. She wanted things from him that he could not give while building what he was building. He had convinced himself he was being practical. That the relationship had run its course. That she would be fine. That he was doing her a favor by ending it cleanly instead of dragging out an inevitable conclusion. He had never considered that she might be pregnant. He had never considered that she might try to reach him. He had never considered anything beyond his own ambition. Warren closed his phone. He walked to his window. 40 floors below Manhattan glittered with lights. He had everything. The penthouse. The company. The respect of powerful people. The life he had sacrificed Ruth to build. It was ashes in his mouth. Friday came. The courtroom was fuller than before. Reporters filled the gallery alongside Warren's family. Ruth's lawyer had called witnesses. The air was thick with anticipation and barely suppressed judgment. Ruth took the witness stand. She wore a simple black dress. Her hair was pulled back. No jewelry except small pearl earrings. She looked exhausted. She looked beautiful. She looked like a woman who had survived things that should have killed her and emerged on the other side transformed into someone unbreakable. Judge Alderman addressed her directly. "Ms. Bellamy, please tell the court about your relationship with Mr. Prescott." Ruth's hands gripped the edges of the witness box until her knuckles went white. When she spoke, her voice carried across the silent room. "We met 10 years ago at a charity gala in Brooklyn. I was 32. An architect at a firm that was struggling to stay afloat. He was 34. Building his real estate development company from the ground up." She paused. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. Bitter and sad. Our hands touched, reaching for the same glass of wine. He said he was not letting go until I told him my name. We talked until the venue closed. He walked me home and stood on the sidewalk outside my building until sunrise because neither of us wanted to say goodnight. Warren remembered that night. Every detail. How the streetlights had made her hair glow. How she had laughed at his terrible jokes. How he had known by morning that he was going to marry her. He had been so certain. Nadine Cross approached the witness stand. "Can you describe your relationship for the court?" Ruth's eyes went distant, like she was watching the past unfold in front of her. "For 3 years we were inseparable. People used to stop us on the street. Complete strangers. An old woman at a restaurant near Warren's apartment stopped by our table once. She was maybe 80 years old. She said in 60 years of marriage she had only seen real love a handful of times. She said we had it. She said we should never let it go." Her voice hardened. "We let it go. He let it go." She continued. "Warren's business partner at the time. A man named Elliot who was going through a divorce. He saw us together at Warren's office one day. I had brought Warren lunch. Kissed his forehead. Left. Elliot told Warren afterward that watching us made him realize his marriage had been dead from the start. He told Warren he was the luckiest man alive. Told him not to mess it up." Warren closed his eyes. He remembered Elliot. He remembered those exact words. "Did you discuss marriage and children?" "Every day." Ruth's voice cracked for the first time. "We talked about having 3 kids. A house with a garden. Growing old together. Warren said he wanted a daughter first. A little girl with my smile. I told him I wanted a son who had his eyes." She looked at Warren for the first time since taking the stand. "We got the daughter. She has your eyes. But you were not there to see them." The courtroom was silent. Even the reporters had stopped typing. "What happened to change your relationship?" Ruth's face went cold. "Money happened. Success happened. A man named Victor Langley came in with a massive investment offer. But he had conditions. Warren had to work around the clock. He had to eliminate distractions." She said the word like it was poison. "I was a distraction. That is what I became. After 3 years. After all the promises. After everything we had built together. I was just a distraction." Warren wanted to stand up. Wanted to shout that it was not true. But it was true. That was exactly what he had thought. That was exactly how he had framed her in his mind when he was convincing himself to leave. "Tell the court about the breakup." Ruth pulled out her phone. She scrolled to something and read it aloud. "I think we want different things. This is not working. Take care of yourself." She looked at the judge. That is how he ended a 3-year relationship. A text message. "I received it while sitting in a doctor's office. I had been feeling sick for weeks. I thought it was stress. I thought it was exhaustion from work. I went to the doctor that morning to get checked out." She paused. The silence stretched. "The doctor told me I was pregnant. I was sitting in that exam room glowing. Terrified but glowing. Because I thought this was it. This was our future. The baby we had talked about. I reached for my phone to call Warren and tell him we were going to have a child." Her voice broke. That is when his text came through. The courtroom gasped. Warren's mother made a sound like a wounded animal. "I called him back. Blocked. I called again from a different phone. He did not answer. I called from my work phone. Nothing. I went to his office building. Security removed me. His assistant told me he was with his new girlfriend. She said if I did not stop coming around they would get a restraining order." "And did you stop trying to contact him?" Ruth's eyes blazed. "No. I tried for months. I sent registered letters to his company. They came back unopened. I emailed his work address. Auto responses. I showed up at an industry conference where he was speaking. Security intercepted me before I could get close." She looked at Warren with something beyond rage. Something like exhausted disgust. "You made it impossible to reach you. You built walls so high that not even the news that you were going to be a father could get through. You erased me from your life so completely that I eventually had to accept you were never coming back." "And when did you accept that?" Ruth was quiet for a long moment. "About 6 months into my pregnancy. After my parents died." The courtroom went still. Nadine Cross's voice was gentle. "Tell the court about your parents." Ruth's hands were shaking now. They lived in Connecticut. When I told them I was pregnant and alone, they got in the car immediately to come be with me. They were supposed to arrive that evening. She stopped, breathed, continued. A drunk driver hit them head-on. They died instantly. I got the call while I was still in my pajamas. Still checking my phone, hoping Warren would text. Still believing somewhere deep down that he would come back once he knew about the baby. She looked at the gallery. At Warren's mother, who was sobbing. At his father, who sat rigid with grief. In one day, I lost the man I loved and both my parents. I was 34 years old. Pregnant. Alone. With no family left except the baby growing inside me. Warren felt like he had been gutted. Ruth's parents were dead. He had not known. He had never asked. He had never cared enough to find out what happened to the woman he claimed to love after he threw her away. Judge Alderman's voice was thick. "I am sorry for your loss, Ms. Bellamy. Please continue when you are ready." Ruth collected herself. When she spoke again, her voice was steadier. "I had to plan my parents' funeral while pregnant and alone. People at the service kept asking where the baby's father was. I just said he was not there. I could not bring myself to explain. I could not admit that the man I had loved for 3 years had discarded me so completely that he did not even know I was carrying his child." The judge called for a brief recess. When they reconvened, Ruth's testimony continued with witnesses. First came Ruth's best friend, Colleen Byrne, a woman in her mid-40s with kind eyes that turned hard as steel when she looked at Warren. "I have known Ruth since college. I was there through the entire relationship with Mr. Prescott. I watched them fall in love. And I watched him destroy her." She described the day of the breakup. How Ruth had called her sobbing. How Colleen had found her on the bathroom floor having cried until she vomited. How she had spent weeks checking her phone, constantly convinced Warren would realize his mistake and come back. There were nights she could not sleep. Colleen said. She would sit by the window holding her phone, just staring at it. Waiting for a message that never came. She loved him so completely that losing him nearly killed her. And then losing her parents on top of it. Colleen's voice cracked. "I honestly did not think she would survive. But she did. Barely. There were nights in those early months after the baby came when I would get calls at 2 in the morning. Ruth crying so hard she could not breathe. The baby screaming. Ruth saying she could not do it. That she was failing. That Iris deserved better than a mother who was falling apart. What did you do?" I would go over. Find her on the couch. The baby in her arms. Both of them crying. Ruth had postpartum depression. Bad. Her doctor prescribed medication, but she could barely afford it because she had spent everything on trying to get her architecture career off the ground and then on the baby. Colleen looked at Warren with undisguised contempt. She raised that child alone. In poverty. Through grief and illness and exhaustion so profound it was killing her. And the whole time the man who put that baby in her belly was building an empire and dating other women and pretending Ruth Bellamy had never existed. Other witnesses followed. Ruth's former landlord. A man in his 60s named Mr. Okonkwo. "She was the best tenant I ever had. Never late on rent even though I knew she was struggling. But I remember one time she called me crying. The baby was maybe 6 months old. She said her heat was not working. It was January. She could not afford a repair person." He shook his head at the memory. "I went over immediately. Found her sitting in the apartment with the oven door open trying to keep warm. She was holding the baby. Both of them in winter coats. I fixed the heat for free. Asked where the baby's father was. She just said he was not in the picture. A grocery store cashier. A woman in her 50s who worked the night shift. She used to come in late. Always looked exhausted. Baby sleeping in the carrier. She would add up her items before she got to the register. I watched her once put back formula because her card kept declining. She left with bread and peanut butter. I went to the break room and cried because I have kids and I know what it looks like when a mother is drowning." Each witness was another nail in Warren's coffin. Each testimony revealed another layer of suffering he had caused. Another moment of Ruth's struggle that he had been oblivious to while he was acquiring properties and attending galas and building the life he thought he deserved. Then Ruth took the stand again. The judge asked if she had anything else to add. Ruth's face was unreadable. There is one more thing I need to tell the court. Something I have never told anyone except my therapist. The courtroom fell silent. When Iris was 4 months old, she had colic. She would scream for hours every night. I had not slept in days. My business was barely surviving. My bank account was nearly empty. My parents were dead. Warren was gone. I had no one. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. It was 2 in the morning. Iris was screaming. I had tried everything. Feeding, changing, rocking, walking. Nothing worked. I was so tired I could barely see straight. And something inside me just broke. She paused. Breathed. I put her in her crib. Made sure she was safe. Then I went outside. Got in my car. Started the engine. Warren stopped breathing. And I sat there. For 10 minutes. Thinking about driving. Just driving somewhere. Anywhere. Or driving into something. Ending it. Because I was so tired and so alone and so completely broken that I could not see any other way out. Warren's mother was sobbing audibly now. His sister had tears streaming down her face. Even his father had his head bowed. But then I heard her crying. Through the window I had left open. And I realized something. She needed me. I was all she had. Her father had abandoned us. Her grandparents were dead. If I gave up, she would have nothing. Ruth's voice strengthened. So I turned off the car. I went back upstairs. I picked up my daughter. And I decided that even though her father had thrown us away like we were garbage, I would survive. For her. I would be everything she needed because no one else was going to be. She looked at Warren. Her eyes held something beyond rage. Something almost like pity. That is what you did to me. You broke me so completely that I considered leaving our daughter alone in the world. You destroyed the woman I was. The woman who believed in love and happy endings. You turned me into someone who had to choose between dying and surviving. And I chose surviving. But I should never have had to make that choice. The courtroom was absolutely still. Judge Alderman spoke quietly. Court is adjourned until Monday. At that time we will discuss custody arrangements and Mr. Prescott will have the opportunity to respond. As the courtroom emptied, Warren tried to approach Ruth in the hallway. She was walking fast toward the exit, holding Iris's hand. The little girl looked tired and confused by everything that had happened. Ruth, please. She stopped. Did not turn around. My lawyer will send you the visitation schedule. Show up or do not. It is your choice. It always has been. She started walking again. And Warren heard Iris ask in her small, clear voice. Mommy, is that man my daddy? Ruth's response was too quiet to hear. But Warren saw her shoulders shake as she picked up her daughter and carried her out of the courthouse. He stood in the hallway surrounded by the wreckage of his exposure. Reporters shouting questions. His mother crying. His father looking at him with disappointment so profound it was almost physical. And all Warren could see was that little girl's face. His daughter. All he could hear was Ruth's voice. That is what you did to me. He had always known he made a choice when he left her. He had always known he chose the company and the investment and the future he thought he wanted. But he had never understood until this moment what that choice had actually cost. Not just Ruth. Not just their relationship. It had almost cost Iris her mother. It had driven Ruth to the edge of something no one should ever have to face. It had broken something that might never be repaired. Warren walked out of the courthouse into the gray afternoon. The city moved around him. Traffic and pedestrians and the ordinary business of millions of lives continuing without interruption. He stood on the steps and understood for the first time that he was not the victim of a misunderstanding. He was not the victim of anything. He was the cause. And now he had to figure out how to live with that. How to face a daughter who did not know him. How to exist in the same world as the woman he had nearly destroyed. He did not know how to begin. But he knew that beginning was the only choice he had left. The supervised visitation was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Warren spent the days between preparing. Or trying to prepare. How did you prepare to meet a daughter you had never known existed? A daughter who had grown up without you. A daughter who had every reason to resent you before she even understood what resentment meant. He bought gifts. A stuffed animal. Books. A dollhouse that cost more than some people made in a month. He packed them carefully. He arrived at Ruth's building an hour early. He sat in his car trying to breathe normally. The court-appointed supervisor met him in the lobby. Dr. Valerie Chen. A child psychologist in her early 50s. Professional. Clinical. The kind of person who had seen every variety of absent father trying to buy back their children's affection. Mr. Prescott. Before we go up, I need to set some ground rules. Her voice was not unkind, but it was firm. This is Iris's first time meeting you as her father. She is 8 years old. She is scared and confused. You will not overwhelm her. You will not make promises you cannot keep. You will let her set the pace. Is that understood? Warren nodded. He did not trust his voice. They took the elevator to the 15th floor. Dr. Chen knocked on Ruth's door. It opened. And there she was. Ruth. In jeans and a sweater. Her hair pulled back. Looking exhausted in the particular way of someone who had not slept well in days. Maybe weeks. Maybe years. Behind her, peeking around her legs, was Iris. The little girl wore leggings and an oversized shirt with a cat on it. She clutched the same worn stuffed elephant Warren had seen in the courtroom. Hello, Iris. Dr. Chen said gently. Remember me. We talked on the phone. I am Dr. Chen. And this is Warren. Iris said quietly. The man from the courthouse. That is right. Dr. Chen said. Warren is your daddy. He is going to spend some time with you today. Is that okay? Iris looked up at Ruth with uncertainty. Ruth knelt down and smoothed her daughter's hair. It is okay, baby. I will be right here. Right in the kitchen. If you need me, just call. You will not leave. Never. Ruth kissed her forehead. Then she looked at Warren over Iris's head. Her eyes were cold. 1 hour. Not a minute more. She walked toward the kitchen, leaving Iris standing in the middle of the living room. The little girl stared at Warren like he was a stranger. Which he was. Dr. Chen settled onto the couch. Why do you not show Warren your room, Iris? But Iris shook her head and stepped behind Dr. Chen instead. Warren knelt down, trying to make himself smaller, less threatening. Hi, Iris. I brought you some presents. Would you like to see? He held up the bag. The expensive bag full of things he had chosen without knowing anything about what she actually liked. Iris looked at the bag. Then at him. Why? The question caught him off guard. Because I wanted to get you something nice. But you do not know me. Her voice was quiet but matter-of-fact. Kid logic cutting straight to the truth. How do you know what I like? Warren looked at the bag in his hands. A bag full of guesses. A bag full of his own assumptions about what an 8-year-old girl might want. He had no idea what her favorite color was. What books she read. What made her laugh or cry or feel safe. You are right. He said quietly. I do not know you. But I would like to. Would that be okay? Iris considered this with the seriousness of someone twice her age. My friend Nadia has a daddy. He picks her up from school. He knows she likes the crusts cut off her sandwiches. He knows she is afraid of thunderstorms. He knows what to say when she has bad dreams. She looked at Warren with something like challenge. Do you know what I am scared of? Warren's throat closed. No. I do not. I am scared of the dark. Iris said. And loud noises. And that mommy will disappear like my grandparents did. She clutched her stuffed elephant tighter. Miss Porter at school says daddies who do not want their babies will say anything to make themselves feel better. Is that true? She looked at him directly. 8 years old and already wise to the ways adults disappointed children. Did you not want me? Warren felt something crack open inside his chest. Something that had been sealed for 8 years. Something he had protected with money and success and the careful construction of a life designed to prove he had made the right choices. He had not made the right choices. I did not know about you. His voice was barely a whisper. Your mommy tried to tell me, but I had done something very, very bad. I stopped talking to her. I hurt her. So she could not reach me. And by the time I found out about you. He stopped. Swallowed. You were 8 years old. And I had missed everything. Iris studied him. She had Ruth's ability to see straight through to the truth of things. Mommy says you chose your company over us. She says that is why you left. She says you cared about money more than you cared about love. Warren closed his eyes. Is your company more important than me? The words hung in the air. Simple and devastating. From the kitchen, Warren could feel Ruth listening. Could feel the weight of her attention even though she was not visible. She was hearing every word. Judging every response. No. Warren opened his eyes and looked at his daughter. Nothing is more important than you. I was wrong. I was stupid. I made the worst choice of my life. And I cannot take it back. I cannot give you those 8 years. I cannot undo what I did to your mother or to you. His voice broke. But I am here now. And I am not leaving again. Ever. Iris was quiet for a long moment. Then she held out her stuffed elephant. This is Eleanor. She is my best friend. Mommy got her for me when I was a baby. Warren took the elephant gently. It was worn soft from years of being held. One of its ears had been stitched back on. The button eyes were scratched and faded. She is perfect. She used to have 2 eyes that matched, but I loved one of them loose. Iris almost smiled. Mommy says you can love things so much they fall apart. Warren handed Eleanor back. Your mommy is very smart. She cries at night sometimes. The words hit Warren like a physical blow. She does not know I hear her. But I do. She looks at pictures on her phone and cries. I think they are pictures of you because sometimes she says your name. Iris looked toward the kitchen where her mother was pretending not to listen. If you are here now, why is she still sad? Warren did not have an answer. Or he did, but it was too complicated for an 8-year-old. Too complicated for anyone. Because I hurt her very badly. And now she is scared I'm going to hurt you too. Are you going to hurt me? No. I promise you, Iris. I will never leave you again. Can you promise to never hurt Mommy again too? Warren looked toward the kitchen. He could just see Ruth's silhouette. Her back to them. Her shoulders tense. I can promise to try. To try really, really hard. But your mom might not want me to fix things with her. And that is okay. Because even if she never forgives me, I am still going to be here for you. Always. Iris nodded slowly. Processing. Then she took his hand. Come on, she said. I will show you my room. But do not touch anything without asking first. Mommy says that is the rule for guests. She led him down the hallway. And Warren followed his daughter into the room where she had grown up without him. The walls were covered in drawings. Crayon and marker and paint. There were books everywhere. Pictures of Ruth and Iris at various ages. A small desk with school supplies. A bed covered in stuffed animals. But what caught Warren's attention was the bulletin board above the desk. Covered in photos and papers and one large drawing that dominated the center. It showed 3 stick figures. One tall labeled Mommy. One small labeled Me. And one in between labeled Daddy with a question mark after it. I drew that last year. Iris said quietly. For the family project at school. Miss Porter asked why there was a question mark. I said because I did not know if I had a daddy or not. She said everyone has a daddy. And I said not everyone knows their daddy. And she did not know what to say after that. Warren stared at the drawing. At the question mark that his absence had created in his daughter's understanding of herself. I know who you are now. Iris said. You are the daddy with the question mark. You are the one I wished for. What do you mean? Iris climbed onto her bed and sat cross-legged holding Eleanor. Every birthday. Every time I saw a star fall. Every time I lost a tooth. I wished for the same thing. She looked at him with eyes that were impossibly old. I wished for you. For a daddy. For someone to come and fill in that question mark. Warren could not speak. Could barely breathe. And then you showed up in that courtroom. And Mommy was so mad and everyone was crying and I did not understand what was happening. But I knew. I knew you were my wish coming true. She hugged Eleanor tight. But if you are my wish come true, why is Mommy so sad? Why does she cry at night? Why is everyone angry? The question hung in the air. Simple and unanswerable. Because sometimes wishes are more complicated than we think. Warren finally said. Because I hurt your mommy before I could be your daddy. And hurting someone you love does not just go away. It takes time. And work. And showing up again and again until they believe you are not going to leave. Are you going to leave? No. Promise. I promise. Iris studied him for a long moment. Then she held out Eleanor. You can hold her while you are here. But you have to give her back when you leave. She does not like sleeping without me. Warren took the worn elephant. Felt the weight of his daughter's trust in his hands. Thank you, Iris. You are welcome. She paused. I think I will call you Warren for now. Until I decide if you are really going to stay. Then maybe I will call you Daddy. Warren felt tears on his face and did not try to hide them. That sounds fair. For the rest of the hour Iris showed him her drawings. Her books. Her collection of rocks she had found in the park. She told him about school and her teacher and her best friend and the way the light looked through her window in the morning. She did not call him Daddy. She called him Warren. She maintained her distance even as she shared her world. And Warren understood that this was what he deserved. This careful probationary acceptance. This chance that could be revoked at any moment. He had to earn his way into her life. He had to prove that he was worth the question mark on her family drawing. When Dr. Chen said time was up, Iris did not argue. But at the door she tugged on Warren's sleeve. Warren. Yes. Will you come back? Yes. Every time they let me. I promise. Okay. She paused. Maybe next time you can meet Nadia. She does not have a daddy either. Her daddy left when she was a baby and never came back. Maybe you could be both our daddies. Warren's voice broke completely. I would like that. As Dr. Chen led him toward the elevator, Ruth appeared from the kitchen. Her eyes were red and swollen. She had heard everything. Thank you for being honest with her. She said quietly. That is all I ask. Just show up. Tell her the truth. Do not make promises you cannot keep. I will show up. Every time. I promise. Ruth's expression did not soften. Promises mean nothing from you. Show me. For weeks. For months. For years. Then maybe I will believe them. She started to close the door. Then stopped. She wished for you. Every birthday. Every falling star. She told me once she wished so hard she thought her heart would break. Ruth's voice cracked. Do not break her heart, Warren. Whatever you do to me, whatever choices you make, do not break that little girl's heart. She has already been waiting for you her whole life. The door closed. Warren stood in the hallway. Then walked to the elevator. Then rode down to the lobby. Then made it outside to the sidewalk before he completely broke down. He leaned against the building and wept. For the daughter who had wished for him while he forgot she existed. For the woman he had destroyed. For the 8 years he could never get back. For the question mark on that drawing that he might never fully erase. His phone buzzed. A text from his assistant. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. Investor concerns about media coverage. Need you there. Warren stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed his response. Cancel it. Cancel everything tomorrow. I need to figure out how to be a father. He put his phone away and looked up at the building where his daughter lived. Somewhere up there she was probably telling Ruth about the visit. Showing her mother Eleanor. Asking questions Warren was not there to answer. He had missed 8 years. He could not miss another day. Whatever it cost him. Whatever he had to give up. Whatever he had to change. He was going to be the father that little girl had wished for. He just had to figure out how. And he had no idea where to begin. The first family dinner after the courtroom happened on a Sunday in late October. Warren arrived at his parents' house in Connecticut with the particular nervousness of a man walking into his own trial. Ruth and Iris had been invited separately. His mother had called Ruth directly. His father had made it clear that Warren's presence was tolerated, not welcomed. The house looked the same as it always had. Stone and wood, and the kind of old money elegance that whispered rather than shouted. Warren had grown up in these rooms. Had learned to walk on these floors. Had sat at that dining table for hundreds of meals, never imagining that one day he would approach it as someone his own family was ashamed of. His sister Catherine opened the door. She was 3 years younger than Warren. Married to a man named David who worked in finance. Mother of 2 children who were somewhere in the house making noise. Warren. Catherine. They stood in the doorway, not embracing. Catherine had always been the one who said what others were thinking. She had that quality now. The look of someone with words pressing against her teeth. Ruth is already here. She came early. Mom wanted time with Iris before you arrived. The implication was clear. They wanted to see the granddaughter without having to see the son who had kept her from them. Warren nodded and stepped inside. The living room was full of people. His Aunt Dorothy, who had been widowed young and never remarried. His cousin Marcus and his wife. His parents sitting on the couch with Iris between them looking at a photo album. And Ruth. Standing by the window. Watching everything with the careful attention of someone who had learned not to trust comfortable rooms. When Warren entered, the conversation stopped. His mother looked up with an expression that held love and disappointment in equal measure. His father did not look up at all. Iris saw him and her face brightened just slightly. Warren. You came. I said I would. He walked over and knelt beside her. She showed him the photo album. Pictures of his parents' wedding. Pictures of him as a child. Pictures of a life that had continued for decades before Iris existed and had somehow failed to include her for 8 years of her existence. That is you. Iris pointed to a photograph. You were little like me. I was. A long time ago. You looked different. I was different. His mother Dorothea finally spoke. Warren. Can I speak with you in the kitchen? It was not a request. He followed her through the house to the kitchen where she had taught him to cook. Where he had sat on the counter as a child eating cookie dough while she pretended not to notice. Where the smell of her perfume still lingered in the curtains. She closed the door behind them and turned to face him. That little girl has been in the world for 8 years. 8 years, Warren. And I never knew she existed. I never got to hold her as a baby. I never got to watch her take her first steps. I never got to be her grandmother. Her voice was shaking. Because you threw away the woman who should have been my daughter-in-law. You threw her away and you made it impossible for her to tell you about the child you created together. And now I have to look at that beautiful girl and know that I missed everything. Everything, Warren. Because of choices you made. Mom, I did not know. You did not want to know. That is different. You blocked Ruth everywhere. You threatened her with legal action. You made sure she could not reach you because you did not want to be reached. Because whatever she had to say would have complicated the life you were building. Dorothea's eyes filled with tears. I loved Ruth. We all loved Ruth. When you were together, I used to thank God that my son had found someone real. Someone who saw him, not his money. Someone who would have loved him if he had nothing. And you threw that away for what? For investors. For a company. For Margot Delaney and her pharmaceutical fortune. She shook her head. I told you once that if you ever let Ruth go, I would disown you. Do you remember that? Warren remembered. A Thanksgiving years ago. Ruth helping his mother in the kitchen. His mother pulling him aside afterward with tears in her eyes, saying she had found the daughter she always wanted. I remember. I should have kept that promise. When you showed up with Margot a month after Ruth disappeared, I should have demanded to know what happened. I should have found Ruth myself. I should have done something instead of accepting your lies about growing apart and wanting different things. Dorothea wiped her eyes. That woman raised your daughter alone. Through poverty and grief and loneliness. She built an empire with a baby on her hip. She survived things that would have destroyed most people. And you were building your own empire pretending she never existed. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand something. Dorothea moved closer. Her voice dropped. Whatever happens between you and Ruth from this point forward, she and Iris are family. My family. That does not change. It cannot change. If Ruth never forgives you, and I would not blame her if she never does, then we will have a relationship with her and Iris separate from you. Because that little girl deserves grandparents. And Ruth deserves the family you stole from her. Warren absorbed this. His own mother choosing Ruth over him. Or not over him exactly, but alongside him. With or without him. I understand. Do you? Because I have watched you my whole life, Warren. I have watched you choose achievement over connection. Success over love. I have watched you build walls so high that no one could reach you. And I always told myself you would grow out of it. That one day you would realize what matters. She looked at him with something like grief. You are 44 years old. You have a daughter you did not know existed. You have destroyed the only woman who ever really loved you. When exactly were you planning to grow out of it? Warren had no answer. His father found him on the back porch an hour later. George Prescott was 74 years old. A retired judge who had spent his career weighing evidence and delivering verdicts. He had the particular stillness of someone who had learned to listen before speaking. He stood beside Warren looking out at the garden where Iris was playing with her cousins. Ruth sat on a bench watching. Dorothea was beside her. They were talking quietly. Ruth almost smiled at something Dorothea said. Your mother told you how she feels. Yes. Good. Now I will tell you how I feel. George's voice was calm. Measured. The voice he had used from the bench for 30 years. I spent my career seeing men like you. Men who abandoned their responsibilities. Men who chose themselves over their children. Men who made excuses and pointed fingers and refused to accept accountability. I sent some of those men to jail. I took children away from others. I watched families destroyed by selfishness disguised as ambition. He turned to look at Warren directly. I never thought my own son would become one of those men. Dad. I am not finished. George's calm did not waver. That little girl looks exactly like you did at her age. The same eyes. The same stubborn chin. The same way of tilting her head when she is thinking. I look at her and I see you at 8 years old. Curious. Hopeful. Waiting for the world to make sense. His voice hardened slightly. You had a daughter out there for 8 years. 8 years of wondering who her father was. 8 years of wishing on stars and birthday candles for someone who had erased her mother from his life. 8 years of growing up without a father because you were too much of a coward to face the consequences of your choices. Warren felt the words like blows. I did not know she existed. You did not want to know. That is what your mother said, and she is right. You built walls specifically designed to keep Ruth out. You hired lawyers to threaten her. You had security remove her from your building. You made it impossible for her to tell you the truth because you did not want the truth. You wanted your clean, uncomplicated life with your clean, uncomplicated fiancé and your clean, uncomplicated billions. George looked back at the garden where Iris was now showing Ruth a flower she had picked. That woman out there raised your daughter alone. She almost died doing it. She almost gave up. Do you understand what that means? She was so broken by what you did that she considered leaving your daughter motherless. And you were attending galas and dating heiresses and pretending the life you destroyed had never happened. I know. I know what I did. Do you? Because knowing and understanding are different things. I have seen men in my courtroom who knew they had done wrong. Very few of them understood it. Very few of them felt the weight of it in their bones. George was quiet for a moment. Your mother and I discussed whether to support you in this. Whether you deserve another chance. I do not think you do. I think you threw away something precious and you should have to live with the consequences. But this is not about you. It is about Iris. And that little girl deserves a father. Even if that father is a man I am currently ashamed to call my son. Warren closed his eyes. I am going to be better. I am going to show up. I am going to. Words are cheap, son. Especially yours. George started to walk away. Then stopped. Ruth deserves more than a man driven by guilt. She deserves a man who loves her for who she is now. Not who she was. Can you be that man? I do not know. At least that is honest. George walked back toward the house, leaving Warren alone on the porch with the weight of his father's judgment settling onto his shoulders. Inside, Ruth was saying goodbye to Dorothea. Warren watched through the window as his mother embraced Ruth. As Ruth's rigid posture slowly softened. As something passed between them that Warren was not part of and might never be part of. Catherine appeared beside him. She never stopped loving you. You know that, right? Warren turned to his sister. Ruth. She never stopped. Even after everything. Even after the text message and the blocking and the years of raising Iris alone. She still has pictures of you on her phone. She still cries at night. Iris told me. Catherine's voice was not kind exactly. More resigned. I saw her once. At a charity gala maybe 5 years ago. Iris was maybe 3. I saw them across the room. I saw Iris and I knew. I knew she was yours. The resemblance was impossible to miss. Warren stared at her. You knew. I suspected. I should have approached her. Should have asked. But I told myself it was not my business. That you must have had your reasons. That if there was a child you would know about it. She shook her head. I failed her too. We all did. Everyone who loved you and trusted you. We all failed, Ruth, because we believed your version of events instead of looking for the truth. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand that this is not just about you and Ruth. This is about everyone she should have been able to count on. Everyone who should have been there for her. Your family failed her as much as you did. And now we have to figure out how to make that right. Catherine looked toward the living room where Iris was putting on her coat. That little girl is the best thing you have ever been part of creating. Do not mess this up. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Do not show up for a few months and then disappear when it gets hard. She met his eyes. Because if you abandon that child the way you abandoned her mother. If you break her heart after she spent 8 years wishing for you. I will never speak to you again. And neither will anyone else in this family. She walked away. Warren watched Ruth and Iris leave. Watched his daughter wave goodbye to grandparents she had just met. Watched Ruth shake hands with his father and receive one last embrace from his mother. They drove away without looking back. And Warren understood that he was on probation. Not just with Ruth. With his entire family. With everyone who had ever believed in him. He had to earn his way back into their trust. And he had no idea if that was even possible. The weeks that followed became a kind of discipline. Warren showed up. Every morning at 6:30 to help with breakfast before school. Every afternoon at 3 to pick Iris up. Every evening for homework and dinner and the small rituals of a life he was learning for the first time. He learned that Iris liked her sandwiches cut in triangles. That she was afraid of thunderstorms and slept with Eleanor and a nightlight shaped like a moon. That she read at a level 2 years ahead of her grade. That her favorite color was yellow because it was like sunshine when it was raining. He learned that Ruth drank her coffee with cream and no sugar. That she worked until midnight most nights catching up on the business she had built from nothing. That she still had not dated anyone since him. That she slept with her phone by her pillow in case Iris needed her. He learned the rhythm of their lives. The small negotiations and compromises. The way Ruth's face softened when Iris laughed. The way Iris looked at her mother with absolute trust. He learned what he had missed. 8 years of first days and last days. Birthdays and holidays and ordinary Tuesdays. Scraped knees and bad dreams and the slow patient work of raising a child. He could not get any of it back. He could only show up now. So he did. The first parent-teacher conference came in early November. Warren sat beside Ruth in tiny chairs designed for 8-year-olds. Their knees almost touched. The classroom smelled like glue and crayons and the particular sweetness of children's art projects. The teacher was a woman in her 30s named Miss Porter. She had kind eyes and the patient manner of someone who genuinely loved children. Mr. Prescott. Ms. Bellamy. Thank you for coming. She opened a folder with Iris's name on it. I wanted to talk to you about the change I have seen in Iris over the past few weeks. When she started the school year, she was quiet. Withdrawn. She did not participate much in class discussions. She seemed sad in a way that worried me. Ruth's hands tightened in her lap. But recently something has shifted. She is more confident. More willing to raise her hand. More engaged with her classmates. She told me last week that her daddy came back. Miss Porter looked at Warren with an expression he could not quite read. I do not know the details of your situation. It is not my place to ask. But I can tell you that whatever is happening at home is having a positive effect on Iris. She pulled out a piece of paper. We did a family project last month. Each student wrote an essay about their family and drew a picture. I wanted to show you what Iris created. She handed the paper to Ruth, who held it so Warren could see. The drawing showed 3 figures holding hands. Mommy, me, Daddy. Behind them was a house with a yellow door and a heart in one of the windows. The essay was written in careful 8-year-old handwriting. My family is me and my mommy, and now my daddy too. For a long time I did not have a daddy. Mommy said he was gone, but maybe he would come back someday. I wished for him every birthday. I wished for him on every star. I wished so hard sometimes I thought my heart would break. Warren felt his throat close. Then one day he came back. He was in a big room with a lot of people and everyone was upset. But I knew he was my daddy because he looked like me. Now he comes to breakfast every morning. He picks me up from school. He helps me with homework. He is learning to be my daddy and I am learning to have one. Ruth was crying silently. Warren could not see clearly through his own tears. Mommy says our family is still putting the pieces back together. Like a puzzle that got messed up. Some of the pieces do not fit right yet. But we are trying. And Miss Porter says that trying is what matters. Miss Porter gave them a moment to collect themselves. Whatever happened before is not my business. But I can tell you that Iris is a remarkable child. Resilient. Thoughtful. Wise beyond her years. She has clearly been loved and cared for. And now she is blooming in a way I did not see at the beginning of the year. She looked at Warren directly. Whatever you are doing, keep doing it. Show up. Be consistent. That is what children need. Not perfection. Just presence. After the conference, Warren walked Ruth to her car. Iris was at an after-school program. They had a few minutes alone. She has been waiting for you her whole life. Ruth's voice was quiet. Not angry. Just tired. I know. Do you? Because sometimes I wonder if you understand what those 8 years were like for her. Watching her friends get picked up by their fathers. Asking me why she did not have one. Drawing family trees with blank spaces where you should have been. I understand. She looked at him. Really looked. I keep waiting for you to fail. To prove me right. To show me that you are still the man who sent that text message. But you keep showing up. Every morning. Every afternoon. Every evening. For weeks now. And I do not know what to do with that. You do not have to do anything. Just let me keep showing up. Why? Because I was wrong. Because I threw away the only thing that ever mattered. Because I have a daughter who wished for me on every birthday and I was not there to grant any of those wishes. Because I want to be the man she deserves even if I can never be the man you deserved. Ruth was quiet for a long moment. I spent 8 years hating you. 8 years raising our daughter alone. 8 years building a life that did not include you. And now you are here. At breakfast. At school. At parent-teacher conferences. And I do not know how to hate you anymore. Her eyes filled with tears. I do not know how to trust you either. But I do not know how to hate you. And that terrifies me. Because if you let me in I might hurt you again. Yes. Warren nodded slowly. I am seeing a therapist. Have been for about a month now. Trying to understand why I made the choices I made. Why I threw away everything good in my life. Ruth looked surprised. What have you learned? That I was terrified. Of commitment. Of losing myself in a relationship. Of becoming my father who sacrificed his own ambitions for his family. I thought if I chose you I would have to give up everything else. So I chose everything else instead. He paused. I was wrong. Loving you was not giving something up. It was gaining everything. And I was too scared and too stupid to see it. Ruth wiped her eyes. I need more time. I need to see you keep showing up. Not for weeks. For months. For years. Before I can believe any of this is real. I will give you as long as you need. I am not going anywhere. She got in her car and drove away. Warren stood in the parking lot for a long time, thinking about the drawing Iris had made. The house with the yellow door. The heart in the window. The three figures holding hands. He was not that father yet. Not really. He was still learning. Still proving. Still earning the right to stand in that picture. But for the first time he believed he might get there. December came with the first snow of the year. Warren's assistant called on a Tuesday morning. There was a crisis. A major deal falling apart. Investors threatening to pull out. The board demanding an emergency meeting. You need to be in London by tomorrow morning, Mr. Prescott. The Henderson Group is walking if we do not resolve this in person. Warren looked at his watch. 2:30 in the afternoon. He was supposed to pick Iris up from school at 3. Cancel it. Sir, this is a $400 million deal. If it falls through, cancel it. Or reschedule it. I do not care. I am picking up my daughter. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Mr. Prescott, I have worked for you for 7 years. You have never turned down a meeting like this. Never. Warren thought about Iris waiting at the school door, watching other children get picked up by their parents, wondering if he would come. Things are different now. Cancel the meeting. If the Henderson Group cannot wait until next week, then we will find other investors. He hung up. At 3 o'clock he was standing outside Iris's school. When she came through the door her face lit up. Warren. You came. I always come. My friend Nadia says her daddy says that, but then he does not come. He has important work. She said daddies always have important work. Warren knelt down to her level. I have important work too. But you are more important. Really? Really? Nothing is more important than picking you up from school. Nothing. Iris hugged him. Quick and fierce. Then pulled back. Can we get hot chocolate? There is a place on the corner that Mommy takes me sometimes. They have whipped cream. We can get hot chocolate. They walked hand in hand to the cafe. Warren ordered 2 hot chocolates with extra whipped cream. They sat by the window watching the snow fall. Warren. Yes. Why did you not come before? When I was little. Warren set down his cup. He had known this question would come. Had been dreading it and preparing for it. I made a mistake. A big mistake. I stopped talking to your mommy before I knew about you. And because I stopped talking to her, she could not tell me you existed. But why did you stop talking to her? Because I was scared. I was trying to build my company and I thought I had to choose between work and love. So I chose work. And it was the wrong choice. Iris considered this with her serious 8-year-old gravity. Mommy says sometimes grown-ups make bad choices because they are scared. She says being scared does not make it okay, but it helps explain it. Your mommy is very wise. She also says you have to fix your bad choices. That saying sorry is not enough. You have to do better. She is right about that too. Are you doing better? I am trying. Every day. That is why I pick you up from school. That is why I come to breakfast. That is why I am here. Iris took a sip of her hot chocolate. Whipped cream stuck to her upper lip. I think you are doing better. But I am still watching. Just in case. Warren smiled despite himself. That is fair. They finished their hot chocolate and walked home through the snow. Iris talked about school and her friends and a book she was reading about a girl who could talk to animals. At the apartment, Ruth opened the door. She looked at Iris's snow-covered coat and the hot chocolate stains on her scarf. You got hot chocolate. Warren took me. They have really good whipped cream. Ruth's eyes met Warren's over Iris's head. Come in. It is cold. They went inside. Warren helped Iris with her homework while Ruth made dinner. They ate together at the small kitchen table. Iris talked about her day. Ruth asked questions. Warren listened. After dinner, Iris went to take a bath. Warren helped Ruth with the dishes. They stood side by side at the sink. Not touching but close. I got a call today. Ruth said quietly. From your assistant. Warren's hands stilled in the soapy water. She wanted to know if there was a medical emergency. Because apparently you cancelled a $400 million meeting to pick up Iris from school. Warren rinsed a plate slowly. There was no emergency. I just said I would pick her up. So I picked her up. Ruth was quiet for a moment. You walked away from $400 million. I walked away from a meeting. The money will still be there next week. Iris expecting me at 3 o'clock was today. Ruth set down the dish towel. Who are you? What do you mean? I mean you are not the man I knew. The man I knew would never have done that. The man I knew chose his company over me every single time. And now you are walking away from major deals to buy our daughter hot chocolate. I told you. I am trying to be different. Trying is one thing. Actually doing it is something else. She turned to face him. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For you to have some crisis that requires you to disappear. For you to realize this is too hard or too boring or too small for someone like you. But you just keep showing up. Is that bad? It is confusing. I built my whole life around the understanding that you were never coming back. That I had to do everything alone. That Iris and I were on our own. And now you are here. In my kitchen. Doing my dishes. Cancelling meetings worth more than most people make in a lifetime. And I do not know what to do with any of it. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to forgive me. You do not have to trust me. You do not have to feel anything you do not feel. I am just asking you to let me keep showing up. For how long? For as long as it takes. Ruth looked at him. Her eyes searching his face for something. He did not know if she found it. Iris is getting out of the bath. She likes you to read her a story before bed. She has not asked anyone to do that since my mother died. I did not know that. There is a lot you do not know. But you are learning. I will give you that. She walked away. Warren dried his hands and went to read his daughter a story. Iris was in bed with Eleanor tucked under one arm. She had chosen a book about a family of rabbits who lived in a hollow tree. Warren sat on the edge of her bed and began to read. His voice was awkward at first. He had never read a bedtime story before. Did not know the rhythms. Did not know when to pause or when to do voices. But Iris did not seem to mind. She watched him with her serious eyes. Following along with the words. Correcting him gently when he mispronounced something. When the story was done she yawned. That was good. Yeah. Mommy does the voices better. But you are learning. Warren smiled. I am trying. Warren. Yes. Can I call you Daddy now? The question hit him like a physical blow. He had to take a breath before he could answer. Only if you want to. I think I want to. You have been here for a lot of weeks now. And you came today even when you had important work. And you read me a story. That is what daddies do. She considered. But if you leave I will go back to calling you Warren. Because daddies do not leave. I will not leave. You promise. I promise. Okay. Good night, Daddy. The word broke something open in his chest. Something he had not known was closed. Good night, Iris. He turned off the light and left the door open a crack the way she liked it. In the hallway Ruth was waiting. She called me Daddy. I heard. Her eyes were wet. She has been waiting to say that word her whole life. I hope you understand what it means to her. I understand. Do you? Because that word is not just a label. It is a promise. Every time she says it she is trusting you. Every time you answer to it you are making a commitment. If you break that, if you leave after she has started calling you Daddy, I will not leave. Ruth wiped her eyes. I want to believe you. Part of me is starting to believe you. But there is another part that remembers every promise you made before. Every time you said you would be there and were not. Every time you chose something else over me. I know. I need more time. Take all the time you need. She looked at him for a long moment. Then nodded. Good night, Warren. Good night, Ruth. He left the apartment and rode the elevator down to the lobby. Stepped out into the cold December night. His daughter called him Daddy. 8 years late. Millions of dollars in abandoned deals. A reputation in tatters. A family that was still learning to trust him. But his daughter called him daddy. It was worth all of it. February came with a phone call that changed everything. Warren was at his apartment. 6 in the morning. Getting ready to go to Ruth's for breakfast. His phone rang. Ruth's number. Something is wrong with Iris. Her voice was controlled, but he could hear the fear beneath it. High fever. She has been sick all night. It will not come down. I am taking her to the emergency room. I am coming. Warren, you do not have to. I am her father. I am coming. He was at the hospital in 20 minutes. Found Ruth in the waiting room. Iris was in her arms. The little girl was pale and sweating. Her eyes were glassy with fever. Daddy. The word came out weak. Scared. I am here, baby. I am right here. They waited 3 hours. Iris got worse. She cried that her head hurt. That her stomach hurt. That everything hurt. Warren held her the whole time. Rocking her. Singing the lullabies his mother had taught him decades ago. Ruth sat beside them. Watching. Not speaking. Just present. When they finally called Iris's name, the doctor was a woman in her 50s with gentle hands and worried eyes. We need to run some tests. The fever is very high. We want to rule out meningitis. The word hit Ruth like a blow. She swayed on her feet. Meningitis. It is probably not. But we need to be sure. We need to do a spinal tap. Iris started crying harder. No. Mommy, no. I do not want them to hurt me. Ruth was falling apart. Warren could see it. The fear was overwhelming her. She was remembering all the times she had been in hospitals alone. All the times there was no one to help her carry this weight. I have got this. Warren spoke before he could think. Let me take her for the procedure. You need a minute. I cannot leave her. You are not leaving her. I am her father. Let me do this. Ruth looked at him. Looked at Iris. Looked at her own shaking hands. Okay. Warren carried Iris to the procedure room. She clung to him. Crying. Terrified. Daddy, make them stop. Please. It is going to hurt. Warren's heart broke. I know, baby. I know. But they have to do this to help you get better. I am going to be right here. I am not leaving. I promise. Promise. I promise on everything I am. The procedure was awful. Iris screamed. Warren held her hand and let her squeeze until his fingers went numb. He cried with her. Did not try to hide it. Did not pretend to be strong. When it was over, the nurses moved her to a room. Started 4 antibiotics. Iris was exhausted. The crying had worn her out. She lay in the hospital bed looking impossibly small. You stayed. Her voice was weak. I told you I would. Mommy always stays. But I did not know if you would. I will always stay. Always. No matter what. She closed her eyes. Fell into an exhausted sleep. Ruth appeared in the doorway. The doctor said it is not meningitis. Just a severe infection. They want to keep her overnight for observation. She came into the room. Looked at Iris sleeping. Looked at Warren sitting beside the bed still holding their daughter's hand. You stayed through the procedure. I told her I would. She screamed. I could hear it from the waiting room. I know. I cried with her. Could not help it. Ruth sat down in the chair on the other side of the bed. When she was 2, she had an ear infection. Screamed for hours. I sat in the emergency room alone holding her while she cried. There was no one to help. No one to take over when I could not handle it anymore. I just had to endure. She looked at Warren. I have been alone for every emergency. Every fever. Every nightmare. Every scary moment of her life. I learned how to do it alone because I had no other choice. You are not alone anymore. Ruth's composure cracked. Tears spilled down her face. I do not know how to do this. I do not know how to let someone else carry part of it. I have been holding everything for so long. If I let go, I do not know what happens. Then do not let go. Just let me stand beside you while you hold it. Let me be here. That is all I am asking. Ruth cried. Quietly. Her hand found his across Iris's sleeping body. She did not squeeze. Just held on. They sat like that for hours. Not talking. Just being present together while their daughter slept. Around midnight the fever finally broke. Iris's color improved. The monitors showed her vitals stabilizing. Ruth was asleep in her chair. Warren was still awake, watching his daughter breathe. The nurse came in to check vitals. A woman in her 60s with kind eyes. You have been here all day, the nurse said quietly. Most fathers are gone by now. Gone to work. Gone to get coffee. Gone to handle something else. Warren looked at Iris. She is my daughter. That is not always enough for some men. She is my daughter. The nurse smiled. She is lucky then, to have a father who stays. She left. Warren remained. In the morning Iris woke up, looked around, saw both parents sleeping in chairs on either side of her bed. Their hands still connected across her blanket. You both stayed. Ruth stirred, opened her eyes. Of course we did, baby. Together. Like a real family. Ruth's eyes met Warren's over their daughter's head. Something passed between them. Not forgiveness exactly. Not yet. But something. Like a real family. Ruth repeated softly. They took Iris home that afternoon. Warren carried her up to the apartment. Ruth made soup. They sat together on the couch watching a movie Iris had chosen. Something animated with talking animals and a happy ending. Iris fell asleep between them. Her head on Ruth's shoulder. Her hand holding Warren's. Ruth looked at their daughter. Then at Warren. You did not leave. I told you I would not. I know. But telling and doing are different things. You did not leave. Even when it was hard. Even when she was screaming. Even when it would have been easy to let me handle it alone like I always have. She was quiet for a moment. Something changed today. I do not know what to call it. But something changed. What do you mean? I mean I stopped waiting for you to fail. Warren did not know what to say. I have been watching you for months. Waiting for the moment when you would prove me right. When you would choose work over her. When you would disappear because things got hard. But you did not. You stayed through the worst night of her life. You held her hand while she screamed in pain. You cried with her. Ruth's voice broke. That is what fathers do. Real fathers. The kind she has been wishing for her whole life. I want to be that father. I think you already are. They sat in silence. Iris sleeping between them. The movie playing quietly in the background. Ruth spoke again. I have been seeing a therapist. For about 2 months now. Trying to work through everything. The anger. The fear. The grief of losing what we had. Warren nodded. She asked me last week what I wanted. Not what was best for Iris. What I wanted for myself. What did you tell her? That I wanted to stop being angry. That I was tired of carrying it. That 8 years of rage was exhausting and I did not want to do it anymore. Ruth looked at him. She asked if I still loved you. Warren stopped breathing. I said yes. I never stopped. Even after everything you did. Even after the text message and the blocking and the years of raising Iris alone. Some part of me never stopped loving you. And I hated myself for it. I thought it made me weak. Pathetic. Foolish. You are not any of those things. I know that now. Loving you does not make me weak. It makes me human. You were my person. For 3 years you were my person. That does not just disappear because you made terrible choices. She reached out. Took his hand. I am not ready to forgive you. I do not know if I will ever be fully ready. But I am done fighting it. The hope. The possibility that maybe we could rebuild something. Ruth. I am not saying I trust you. Trust takes longer than a few months. Trust takes years. Maybe the rest of our lives. But I am willing to try. If you are. Warren felt tears on his face. I am willing. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. I am willing. Iris stirred between them. Opened her eyes. Why are you both crying? Because we are happy, baby. Iris looked at them with her serious 8-year-old wisdom. Are you going to be together now? Like other mommies and daddies? Warren looked at Ruth. Ruth looked at Warren. We are going to try. Ruth said carefully. It is complicated. Grown-up stuff. But we are going to try. Iris smiled. The first real smile since she got sick. I knew it. I wished for this too. Every birthday. Every star. I wished for us to be a real family. She settled back between them. Closed her eyes. I guess wishes do come true. You just have to wait a long time sometimes. She fell back asleep. Ruth leaned her head on Warren's shoulder. He put his arm around both of them. This does not mean everything is fixed. Ruth whispered. I know. This does not mean I have forgiven you. I know. This does not mean we are okay. I know. But we are starting. Yes. We are starting. They sat there for a long time. The three of them. Together. Not a perfect family. Not a healed family. Just a family that was trying. And for now that was enough. Spring came slowly. Warren sold 40% of his company. Not for drama. Not to prove a point. Simply because he could not be a present father and a full-time CEO. He chose father. He moved to an apartment 3 blocks from Ruth and Iris. Close enough to walk over every morning. Far enough to give Ruth the space she needed. They went on their first date in March. Dinner at a small Italian restaurant they had loved years ago. The same table they had sat at a decade earlier when they were young and hopeful and certain they would last forever. This is strange. Ruth said. Good strange or bad strange? Both. I feel like I know you. But also like I am meeting you for the first time. We are both different people now. Yes. Different. Maybe better. I hope better. Warren reached across the table. Took her hand. I have been thinking about what you said in the hospital. About how you never stopped loving me. Ruth's face went guarded. I should not have said that. Why not? Because it gives you power. And you have hurt me before when you had power over me. Warren nodded slowly. You are right. I did. But Ruth, I need you to understand something. The power is not mine. It never was. You are the one who survived. You are the one who built a life. You are the one who raised our daughter into this remarkable person. You have all the power here. I am just asking to be allowed to stand beside you. Ruth was quiet. I keep waiting to wake up. To find out this is all a dream and you are still the man who sent that text message. I am not that man. I cannot be that man and also be Iris's father. I cannot be that man and also be worthy of you. So I am choosing to be someone different. Can people really change? I do not know. But I am trying. Every day. Every choice. I am trying to be the man I should have been 8 years ago. Ruth picked up her wine glass. Set it down again. I want to trust you. Then trust me in small ways. One day at a time. One choice at a time. And maybe eventually those small trusts will add up to something bigger. She looked at him across the table. One day at a time. One day at a time. They finished dinner. Warren walked her home. At her door he kissed her for the first time in 8 years. Gentle. Careful. Not demanding anything. Just present. Good night, Ruth. Good night, Warren. She went inside. He walked home through the spring night. 3 blocks. Close enough to be present. Far enough to give her space. It was a start. Summer arrived with Iris's 9th birthday. The party was held at the Prescott family home in Connecticut. Both families gathered. Dorothea had decorated everything in yellow because that was Iris's favorite color. George had built a swing set in the backyard. Catherine's children ran around with Iris. Colleen was there. Even Ruth's old landlord, Mr. Okonkwo, came bringing a gift he had picked out himself. Warren stood at the edge of the party watching. His daughter was surrounded by people who loved her. Grandparents she had finally met. Aunts and uncles and cousins. Friends from school. A community that had grown around her because he had finally shown up. Ruth appeared beside him. She is happy. She is happier than I have ever seen her. Ruth looked at him. You did that. Not alone. But you did that. We did that. Ruth took his hand. A year ago I would never have believed this was possible. A year ago I was still so angry I could barely breathe. But now I think maybe broken things can be rebuilt. Not the same as before. Something different. But maybe better. Warren turned to face her. I love you. I have loved you for 10 years. Through everything. Through my own stupidity and cruelty and the years of pretending you did not exist. I never stopped. Ruth's eyes filled. I know. You know. I have always known. That is what made it hurt so much. Because you loved me and you still left. You loved me and you still chose something else. Loving someone does not guarantee anything. No, it does not. Warren cupped her face in his hands. But I am choosing you now. I will choose you tomorrow and the day after and every day after that. Not because I owe you. Not because of guilt. Because you are still my person. You always were. I was just too scared to see it. Ruth kissed him. In front of everyone. In front of his parents and her friends and their daughter. When they pulled apart, Iris was watching. A huge smile on her face. Does this mean you are getting married? Ruth laughed. Warren laughed. Slow down, baby. We are still figuring things out. But you kissed. That means love. Nadia says when mommies and daddies kiss, that means love. Ruth knelt down. It does mean love. But love is complicated. And your daddy and I are still learning how to do it right. We do not want to rush. Iris considered this. Okay. But when you do get married, can I be the flower girl? You can be whatever you want. Iris ran off to tell her friends that her parents had kissed. Warren put his arm around Ruth. A year ago I was standing in a courtroom finding out I had a daughter. A year ago I was watching you realize what you had thrown away. A lot can change in a year. A lot did. They watched Iris blow out her candles. 9 candles. 9 years. 1 with him. 8 without. He would never get those years back. He would never be able to undo what he had done. But he could be here now. And he could keep being here. Every day. Every choice. For the rest of his life. Ruth leaned against his shoulder. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about all the birthday parties I missed. All the candles she blew out without me. All the wishes she made for a father who was not there. Ruth was quiet. You cannot change the past. No. But I can change what happens next. Is that enough? Warren watched his daughter open presents. Watched his mother help her with the ribbons. Watched his father show her how to use the telescope he had bought her. I do not know if it is enough. But it is all I have. Presence. Consistency. Showing up. That is what I can give. Ruth took his hand. It is a start. It is a start. They stood together. A family still learning to be a family. A love still learning to be love again. Not perfect. Not healed. Not complete. But present. And for now that was everything. The story does not end here. There is no perfect resolution. No moment when everything is fixed. Ruth does not fully trust Warren. Maybe she never will. The scars of those 8 years do not disappear because he showed up for one. But they continue. Warren picks Iris up from school. He makes breakfast. He reads bedtime stories. He learns her favorite books and her deepest fears and the way she laughs when something really surprises her. Ruth lets him in slowly. Date by date. Conversation by conversation. Small trusts building into larger ones. Some days she believes he has changed. Some days she is not sure. But she keeps choosing to try. Iris grows. She stops calling him Warren and only calls him Daddy. She tells her friends about her father who came back. She draws pictures of 3 figures holding hands in front of a house with a yellow door. The Prescott family welcomes Ruth as the daughter they almost had. Dorothea calls her every week. George gives her legal advice for her business. Catherine becomes the sister Ruth never had. And Warren. Warren wakes up every morning and chooses to be different. Not because it is easy. Not because it comes naturally. But because that is what love requires. Showing up. Again and again. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. This is what love looks like now. Not grand gestures. Not dramatic declarations. Just presence. Consistency. The small daily choices that add up to a life. Warren Prescott had everything. Money. Power. Success. And he threw away the only thing that mattered. It took 8 years. A courtroom. A daughter. And more humility than he knew he possessed. But he found his way back. Not all the way. Not completely. Some things once broken cannot be perfectly repaired. But close. Closer than he had any right to expect. And maybe that is the lesson. Love is not something you earn once. It is something you earn every day. Through actions. Through choices. Through the simple consistent act of showing up when you said you would. Warren showed up. And slowly, impossibly against all odds. A family put its pieces back together.